Hello YouTube, how's everyone doing? It's Professional here. So today I have a channel update video for you guys. If you guys aren't familiar with these are videos in which I talk about a real life topic, give my opinions and my thoughts on it, and also I thank everybody who supported me through Patreon, channel memberships, super chats, and super thanks since the previous update, which I will have up on the screen. Thank you guys for the support, and thank you to my moderators also. Thank you guys for helping me to moderate my stream chat. I greatly appreciate it. So thank you guys for the support. We are now at 1,101,000 subscribers. I know it says 1,100,000, but we're at 1,101,000. That's what I see on my end. But anyways, today's topic is something that I've seen so many people ask me. And we've done these, these videos where I give my thoughts on things in the past. We've done one on retail. We've done one on, group projects. And so anyways, what I want to talk about in this video is I want to talk about if college is necessary or not. And I will be giving my opinion. So if you are, you might have a very different opinion than me. You might have a different viewpoint than me. That's fine. But this is just my opinion, just my thoughts, my experiences, and what I think in general. So, feel free to disagree with me. Don't think that what I say is fact. So, I always welcome different viewpoints, but these are just my views. And I will be talking about my country, mostly America. So when I talk about college, I'll mostly be talking about America. I understand it might be different in other countries, but I'll be talking about mostly my country, America. And now about this, if college is necessary or not. I will be speaking everything from the heart here, guys. Also, is I don't have a script or anything like that. I just have an outline on my computer, few bulletin points that I just want to go over in order. But I'll be speaking everything from the heart. And this is the number one question that I see people ask me a lot of times on streams. And if you come by my streams a lot, you've probably seen people ask me this live, or people ask me a lot of times, is college necessary? Should I go to college? Is it worth it? And then there's other people who ask me saying, I just started college. Can you give me any advice? What's it like? What I should do? And I just wanted to talk about this subject here. And so, anyways, I wanted to start off by saying that I'm not going to be insulting anyone in this video. The only people that I will be insulting are college elitists, which I think most of us watching this video can agree. If you went to college or you didn't go to college, I think most of us can agree that college elitists are scumbags. Well, if you don't know what a college elitist is, a college elitist is basically somebody who goes to college, they are very arrogant about themselves, they think that they're smarter than everyone, and they think that people that don't go to college are idiots. They think that people who don't go to college are losers, they think that they're idiots, they think that they're uneducated, they think they're stupid. And these college elitists don't just look down on people who don't go to college, but they also look down on people who go to other colleges. So they might see like one college they think is inferior, and they basically look down on those people too, and they think those people will be stupid because they didn't go to their college. So those people are the only people I'll be insulting in this video, and I think we can both agree, all of us, that college elitists are scumbags and idiots. But basically, what I will say about this is the college elitism crap. This has, pissed me off the most. This is, the number one thing that's pisses me off about this whole college thing. And I will tell you is that this has gotten extremely toxic in recent years. This has not been this bad when I was a kid. When I was like in middle school, I started middle school in like 2007. And so when I was in middle school, it wasn't even this bad. Like, kids would, finish high school and they wouldn't go to college, and it wasn't that big of a deal. But then, like, something changed, like, years later, and it was that society has just been so infected by this college elitism propaganda that it's a society largely looks down on you if you don't go to college. They think that you're stupid or something. And this has, parents do this, teachers do this, your fellow peers, your fellow students, your coworkers, your neighbors will do this. It's gotten so toxic and so bad. And America historically was not like this. Historically, most Americans did not go to college. It wasn't until I would say probably the last 30 or 40 years where much more people started going to college. But yeah, this is it wasn't like this historically. For a lot of America's history, it actually was not like this. So a lot of people didn't go to college, but it's happened in recent years where it's just gotten so toxic, where people just look down on you. They think that you're stupid if you don't go to college, and it's just ridiculous. And I was asking people, I asked you guys on my live stream, I asked you guys, where do you think this college elitist argument comes from? Where does the source of it? Because it has to come from somewhere. Because it has to have its origins in something. Where did this come from? This didn't just pop out of nowhere. It came from something. Like somebody started talking about this, more people spread it around, and I asked you guys what you guys think. Where did the college elitism propaganda come from? And most of you guys said in the live stream it probably came from parents. And Probably, I will agree on that. It probably came from parents. It probably also came from teachers, I would say. Teachers are also probably a big influence on this as well. But basically, parents start telling their kids, you better go to college. If you don't go to college, you're an idiot. You're going to let me down, stuff like that. They're going to guilt trip their children. And I will say also is that there are even some really bad parents. Like there's parents that love their kids. Don't get me wrong. They love their kids and they want what's best for them, and they think that pushing their kids to go to college is the best thing. I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing, but when parents are, extremely toxic to their kids and they tell their kids that, if you don't go to college, you're going to be an idiot. Or in the worst case scenario is they tell their kids, if you don't go to college, I'm not going to talk to you and I'm going to cut you off. There are actually some families like that. That's the worst thing that the parents can do. Not even talking to their children, not supporting their children if they don't go to college. That's the worst thing that they do. I understand that you want your kids to work and, do things. You don't want them just to be stuck in the house. But what if your kids want to work and they want to do something, but it's not necessarily college related? What if they want to start a business or something? So it's just this obsession with college has gotten so toxic that it's also even destroying families with just this college elitism propaganda. And I will also say that from my experience, from what I've seen personally, is that the college elitism is also more common in immigrant family household than parents that aren't born parents that are born in America. So if you have parents that are born in this country, is the college elitism might not be as big in your house as in an immigrant household. I grew up in an immigrant household. My parents were from Poland, and I will also explain where this push for college comes from. But basically, my dad, when it comes to college, my dad's viewpoint is, it's your life, son. Do whatever you want. I'll support you. That was generally his viewpoint. He was kind of neutral on it. Whatever I wanted to do is, he was going to support me on it. My mom, and I love my mom. Don't get me wrong. She was never toxic to me about this. She was always very caring. But my mom was very pushy when it came to college. And when I told my mom I didn't want to go to college when I finished high school, and I had good grades in high school. Don't get me wrong. I had pretty high grades. I had a decent GPA. I didn't feel that I really needed college. I wasn't trying to show off or anything, but I just personally didn't feel like I needed it. I didn't know what I wanted to do with my life when I was finishing high school. I had no idea what I wanted to do. And so I was thinking that I was at least, find a job, start working, and then, maybe at that point is I would, make up my mind on what I wanted to do. I didn't want to start college and start spending tons of money and then, do a degree that I didn't know if I wanted to do that for the rest of my life. So that's ultimately why I didn't want to go to, college. I didn't feel it was necessary, and I, wanted some more time to think about what I wanted to do. But my mom was very pushy, and she was telling me, you got to go to college now. If you don't go to college after high school, they're not going to take you. And she was telling me that, if you don't go to college, you're not going to get a good paying job. You're going to be stuck working class for the rest of your life, and, stuff like that. And so my mom really pushed me to go to college. I didn't really want to go to college, but my mom pushed me to go to college. So I love my mom. She wanted what was best for me. She wasn't some of those elitist, college elitist parents. She was very caring. She wasn't toxic to me about this, but she was extremely pushy when it came to going to college. And going back to immigrant households, I've noticed this is a very common trend in immigrant households where the parents are very pushy about them going to college. And I've talked to other, I grew up with friends that were also from immigrant households, and one of my friends, his parents were from the Dominican Republic, and his parents were also very similar to my mom. His mom was very similar to my mom, very pushy about going to college. And I've also noticed that in Asian immigrant households, this is the most common. Indian immigrant households and East Asian immigrant households, the parents will be very pushy for their kids to go to college. And the reason why I think that the immigrant households typically are more pushy for their kids to go to college is because a lot of times the countries that the immigrants came from, they probably grew up in poverty. They came to America for a better life. They came to America, for greater opportunities to make more money. And so, in my parents' case, my parents grew up in communist Poland. They didn't have much. The government would dictate their lives. They would work and work and work, and they never really had that much in their lives. The government would tell you, how much money you would make. They would give you a ration card. They would tell you, how much milk you can buy in a week, how much meat you can buy in a week, and so it was bad. And also, my mom would, wait at the supermarket at 5 o'clock in the morning, and she would wait for the truck to come in, and the truck would only come in with a few cans, and then people would be fighting in the supermarket over a few cans. And so my mom, the reason my mom was so pushy was because she grew up in poverty, in communist Poland. My dad also grew up in poverty, but they wanted a better life for me, and they believed that the key to success in America, they believed that the key to becoming wealthy was a college education. That's what my parents believed, or my mom believed, I should say. And that's what a lot of immigrant, families believe. When they come to America, they want a better life for their kids. They don't want their kids to grow up in poverty, like them. And I understand their perspective. And so they think that the only way for their kids to achieve success is they have to go to these, these colleges. And also when these, parents see a lot of this, college elitist propaganda on TV, they will also be more inclined to push this on their kids. And so they will push their kids to go to college also. And I remember, I'll say this, I had this one teacher in college, and I remember something he said that I'll never forget. And he said that not everybody should be in college. And he said that to the class, and he said that, I understand that some of you might have been forced to, come here by your parents. I will just ask, you try to do your work in the class, but I understand that, some people don't want to be here. And, I never heard a professor say something like that, but that was a very, brutally honest thing that I've heard somebody say. And he said that, college is not for everyone, and, people should do whatever they want. And it's because he said that some people are forced to go to college by their parents. And that's, and so, yeah, a lot of, and I will say that if you have a kid and you want, your kid to be successful, just tell your kid, do whatever you want, and I'll just generally support you. You make sure it's something that makes you happy, because if you force somebody to go to, college, that doesn't want to go to college, they're not necessarily going to do well. Because you want, for somebody to be successful in college, they want to have to go there. If you want to have to be there, if you want to have to go there, that is a much heavier incentive. And so they will work harder towards their goals in general. So I just don't think that parents should be pushing their kids to go to college. Just generally tell the kids, what they want to do. I would just say, if you are concerned that your parents are going to do this to you and you don't want to go to college, have like a plan. Explain to your parents what you want to do instead of going to college. Research your plan. That's what I would say about it. And I'll also talk about things you can do besides college later on in the video. Going back to this college elitism thing is in my high school in New York, in high school, where I started noticing this college elitism thing started getting really toxic, and the teachers weren't directly saying it, but they were suggesting that if you didn't go to college, you weren't going to be successful. I did have one teacher in 8th grade in history class that I remember that I actually really liked what he said. And what he said in that class is, he said, if you guys finish high school one day and you want to be garbage men, that is perfectly acceptable. And don't let anybody tell you otherwise, that it's a bad job or that it's shameful, because garbage men make good money, and a job is a job, and you make money. And that's one of the best advices that I've heard from a teacher. A job is a job. Whatever, as long as it's not something illegal, as long as, you're not hurting somebody else, who cares what you do as a job? A job is a job. So whether it's a garbage man, whether it's a doctor, whatever, taxi driver, a job is a job. You make money from it. And so it's like, I just personally think it's stupid when I just see like college kids making fun of somebody that's like become a garbage man, and they're not even working. They're just relying on their parents to pay their tuition, and they're just laughing at somebody, oh, haha, that guy's a garbage man, when, they're not even working a job. At least that person who's working, as a garbage man, at least they're doing something. At least, they're working, they're doing something. And garbage men make good money. At least in my state, New York, garbage men make good money, and, you had good retirement benefits. So, it's nothing to be ashamed of. But that's like people look at jobs like, not just like that they're money makers, but they also look like they're titles. That's basically what it is. And I've gone to family meetings before, and on family meetings, I haven't told people that I do YouTube. I don't tell people that. Very few people in my family actually know that I'm a YouTuber. Very few people. Only my mom and my dad know that I do YouTube. Like nobody else. My half brother, my half sister, my my aunt, my grandma, my cousins, nobody else knows that I do YouTube. And the reason that I don't talk about, YouTube is because some of my family members will get really toxic. If I tell them that I do YouTube for a living, they won't take that seriously. They will think that it's like a joke. They will laugh at it. They will think that I just play video games, that I don't do any kind of work. That's basically the attitude of some of my family members. Some of my family members are like that. My parents aren't like that, but some of my other family members are like that. They will act like that. So generally, when people ask me what I do, I generally tell them that I do the stock market, and I run rental properties, which isn't necessarily lying, because I did the stock market in the past. I don't really do it anymore, but I do run rental properties. I have two. So that's generally what I say, to my my cousins and other people that ask me what I do for a living. I don't tell them about YouTube. But unfortunately, it's because people will, like I said, people will look down on people that do certain jobs. They will think that it's not that it's not a job. They will think that it's not a real job. Well, who defines what's a real job and what's not a real job? A job is a job. You make money from it. That's all that matters. Like I said, as long as you're not doing something illegal, you're not hurting somebody, a job is a job. Who cares how you make money? It's ultimately is that. It's like somebody working a job, like, somebody working at McDonald's, for example, is like, that's better than like somebody that like is going to college and like laughing at somebody that's not working at all. Because at least that kid at working at McDonald's, at least he's doing something. At least he's trying to make money. He's trying to save up some kind of money. But the kid in college that's not working and it's just laughing at like the kid that's working at McDonald's, like, how dare you? What right gives you to like laugh at somebody for their job? Like I said, a job is a job. And fast food workers are some of the hardest workers out there. People that think that it's easy to work in those jobs. I worked in retail also for 6 years. You run around these places. You have annoying customers, unreasonable customers. Stupid management that yells at you, cuts your hours. So I just don't think that people have like a right to like yell at people and like criticize people over this. It's like whatever job that you have. Like I said, job is a job, and you make money from it. That's ultimately it. And wrapping it up with this college elitism, crap. What I will say about this is it's gotten so toxic that it's infiltrated the minds of kids before they even graduate high school. That's how toxic the college elitism propaganda has gotten. Because when I was in my high school, I remember that there was kids that would already like think that you're stupid if you're not going to college. Like there was one kid that I was like, and I remember it was such a rude thing that he did. There was one kid that I went to high school with, and he lived like a couple blocks from me. And he knew he knew where I lived a couple blocks away from him. And basically what he did was, he asked when we were exiting high school or leaving high school, right? He asked, me and my dad if we could give him a lift because we were going in that exact same direction. So my dad came to pick me up. I would always drive. My dad would pick me up, get in the passenger, I would drive, and he was in the car with us in the passenger seat. And he was, he asked like, what you want to do after high school, Pat? And I said, I don't know. I don't want to go to college. I guess I'll just, take my chances, start looking for jobs, decide on what I want to do with my life. And he's like, that's not a plan. It's like, you want to, not go to, college? You're going to be a failure and stuff like that. It's like, and I was like thinking like, this kid wasn't even my friend, but I was nice enough to give you a ride and drive you home. And this is how you talk to me? Like honestly, like that? But that's what a college elitism does to kids' brains. It's honestly, it invades their brains and this creates this sense of entitlement. It just creates a sense of elitism. Like, oh, I'm better than you, I'm smarter than you because I went to college and you didn't. You're stupid, you're dumb. But that was basically, I dropped that kid off and I never really talked to him much after that. But that was like, I didn't say anything back to him. I know other people would have, cursed him out, but I'm not that type of person to engage in confrontation. Other people, I probably would have just left him there on the road, told him to get out. But I at least had the decency of dropping him off. But that's basically what, college elitism does to, kids' minds. It comes from the parents, it comes from the teachers, it comes from society, it comes from the media, and people, kids get brainwashed by this stuff, and they think that if you don't go to college, and then these kids end up, when they have kids, they brainwash their kids into that, thinking that people that don't go to college are stupid, and this, college elitism propaganda, it just keeps going and going and going. And I will say that in my high school, we also had something called AP classes. And these AP classes, these were advanced placement classes. I think that other states have the same thing. It was in New York. I'm sure if it's not called advanced placement, it's called something else, probably in other states. But the advanced placement classes, what they basically were is they were harder classes in general that you would take. So you would have like AP history, AP math, AP science, whatever else the courses were in high school that you would have. And these classes, you would typically have a lower, average than the other classes because they were more challenging. But the purpose of the classes was, I guess the purpose of them was to make colleges look better at you. Like colleges will look at your resume when you're applying and say, oh, this kid went to AP, took AP this, and so we're going to give him more of a shot. And what I will say about that is that I was considering it in high school because the college elitism was starting to even get to my head, and I was actually considering it because by that time, my mom was really pushing. She was telling me, you gotta go to college, and she, like I said, my mom was caring. She wasn't toxic about this, but I ended up going to college to please my mom, to make my mom happy. I applied to a college, and this was like a college that was like half an hour from my house. It was a decent college. It wasn't. I wouldn't say it was like a super amazing, some fancy college, but it was a decent college in the area. But anyways, about this college is I actually looked up. I had like a decent GPA in college, but I looked up like our high school, a decent GPA in high school, and I looked up what this college, their requirements were, and stuff like that, and they were listing it off that they consider AP classes, and they had like a pretty higher like GPA. But the thing about this is that I didn't take the AP classes, and I did consider taking the AP economics. It's the one I considered taking, and my economics teacher, I told him that I might switch to AP economics, and it was just like 2 weeks into the class, and I talked to even the principal, and the principal said that he'll switch me if I want, but my teacher told me, he's like, Pat, don't take the AP economics, it's just not worth it, it's going to lower your average, and on top of that, it doesn't make that much of a difference, it does not make that much of a difference. He told me your choice, but he's like, so you stay here, and please stay here in my class, you add to the class, you talk, you discuss, you're a great student, and you're a great addition to the class, and I would hate to lose you. And so I respected that teacher a lot. I liked him, and so I ended up staying there. And he was right. He was ultimately right. Now, you might go to a different college, you might have a different experience than me, but I went to the same college that those kids who took the AP classes took. They looked down on kids who didn't take the AP classes. They thought that they were stupid, and I went to the exact same college as them. And not only that, there was kids that did much worse at school than me, and they got into the exact same college as all of us. So ultimately, my experience, the AP classes didn't make much of a difference. You might have a different experience than me, but it is my experience is the AP classes didn't make much of a difference. And I will also talk one other thing about the college elitism. Last thing I will say about this is, do you know who also causes a lot of the college elitism? The mainstream media. The mainstream media is extremely toxic with the college elitism. Like, they will talk about, they will bring up like charts, and they will say, oh, this is how much money people make who go to college, how much money people make who don't go to college. But what those charts aren't telling you, when they show you the amount of money that like a 4-year college degree makes, and the amount of money that somebody who doesn't go to college makes, what they aren't showing you is they aren't dividing that specifically by job. If they were dividing that by job, there would be a massive difference. Like, for example, if you divided it by people who started up their own business, not going to college, and then you compared it to people who were going to college, I guarantee you that number for the people who aren't going to college would be a lot higher. So it's ultimately it is not combining. It is not separating it based on jobs, and I don't think it's equal for all the college degrees, because there are some college degrees that are like, for example, like doctors and lawyers that will help you, and you can make a decent amount of money, and so those college degrees will have more money than other college degrees. So ultimately, is when the media is like showing those charts and they're saying like, this is how much money people make with this degree, and the people not going to college, what they should do is they should instead separate it. They should separate it based on, this is how much people make who are doctors, this is how much people make who are lawyers, this is how much people make who go into business and don't go to college, and like then people can make up their mind. But like when they have like one chart, this is how much people make who go to college, and this is how much people make who don't go to college. And both of those topics are a very vague thing. When you don't go to college, you have an endless amount of things that you could do. And when you go to college, you have an endless amount of things that you could do. So those charts should really be separated based on the types of jobs that people have, instead of just, a general average summary. That's ultimately what I think about it. And I will also say this, is think about it this way. Whenever you watch the media, right, the mainstream media, make sure you pay attention to this. When the mainstream media does those polls that they show you, and those polls, they're talking about some kind of issue. This is how people feel about the economy. This is how people feel about the candidates. I'm not going to talk politics here, so don't worry. But it's like, how people feel about the candidates, how people feel about the economy, how people feel about foreign policy. And this is not always related to, politics, but, how people feel about gas prices, for example, stuff like that. And if you notice, whenever the media does those polls, they separate the polls into two things. They separate the polls into people who have gone to college and people who haven't gone to college. Like they'll ask a question, how do you feel about the economy? And then they'll show you up on the screen. And they'll say like, this is how people feel about the economy who went to college. This is how people feel about the economy who didn't go to college. This is how people feel our foreign policy should be if they went to college. This is what people think our foreign policy should be if they didn't go to college. And now you think about this. Why is the media showing that? Why does it matter if somebody has a college degree or not based on their opinion. Why is there? It's like if somebody is polled in their opinion, why does it matter if they have a college degree or they don't? I'll tell you why they do that. The reason they're doing that is they're not saying it directly, but what they are really saying is they're saying the people who don't go to college are stupid on these issues. That's basically what they're saying. They're saying the people who haven't gone to college are uneducated, they don't know what they're talking about these issues. That's why they separate the polls. When they talk about the issues and they separate the polls based on people who go to college and people who don't go to college, they will separate the polls based on that just to point out that the people who aren't going to college are stupid. And it's a very stupid thing, I will say, that they do. It's like they are implying that people who don't go to college are stupid. And education does not equal IQ. So education does not equal to smart. You could be really educated but be really stupid. Or you could be uneducated and be intelligent. That's it. So it's ultimately intelligence is not the same thing as education. It is not the same thing. People think that it's the same thing. They think that it's the exact same thing, but it's not. Now, education does help. It does help a person get smarter to a degree. I will agree on that. But it's not, education and intelligence is not the same thing. But just think about that. Next time you watch the media, the mainstream media, and they separate that based on issues like, why does it matter? Why is that a factor in people's college education and what their opinion is? If they don't have a college education or they do, is everyone's opinion is equal. So that's basically what the media is doing. They're implying that people who don't go to college are stupid when they do those polls. And now I wanted to talk about my background, going to college and deciding on what I wanted to do and how I ended up graduating. So my mom was very pushy for me to go to college, and I went to college to please my mom. And, I asked my mom, what do you want me to do in college? And, she wasn't really forcing me to, take a specific thing. She just really wanted me to go to college, but she was really pushing me to do business. And I ended up doing business, and I took it for just a single semester, and I had accounting. And I did accounting, and I didn't like it. I didn't like it. I didn't like that form of math. Now, a lot of people think that I like math because of my money guides on GTA and all this stuff, but I hate math. It's never been for me. I know there's other people who like math, but everybody has their hobbies. My thing is history. That's what I've liked, is I like history. I'm not really big into math. But I ended up, I was looking at this, and I was like, is this what I want to do for the rest of my life? Just balance numbers? It's like, I don't want to do this. So that was ultimately that was ultimately, I looked at it, and after just a semester, I just dropped it. I dropped the business course, and I did first do liberal arts for a year, and then I did undeclared, and then I ended up doing the business major. And the thing about this is, when I did the year of liberal arts, and then I did the year of undeclared, the people at college, the counselors and all the other teachers, they kept telling me the same thing. They kept telling me, oh, don't worry, when you finish your undeclared, you're going to know exactly what you want to do. And I finished it. After 2 years of being at college, I still didn't know what I wanted to do. Still had no idea. So I did the business afterwards, to please my mom, to make my mom happy. And like I said, I'm not criticizing my mom. I love my mom. She wanted what was best for me, but I just personally didn't want to be in that, in that college. And I didn't enjoy business. And then I started taking history courses, and I wanted to get a history degree. I don't think the college had a bachelor's. It had I think it was a history minor. That's I think what it was. But I remember I applied to the degree. This is a long time ago. This is maybe 2014, so 10 years ago. I applied to that. I took a bunch of history courses, but what happened was that history program was dropped when I started it. So I still got credit for the history classes that I took, but I didn't finish even half the requirements for the degree, and because of that, I couldn't get that history degree. And so after that, I decided what I want to do. I started taking security systems, electronics computers, stuff like that. I thought that was a bit interesting, at least. And some of the classes I liked, but then some of the computer classes I didn't like. I didn't enjoy them. And then after a semester, I dropped that. And so then what I ended up doing is I ended up doing law enforcement technology. That's what I ended up doing, because at least I liked law. I liked reading about law somewhat, and that's what I ended up doing. And at that point is, I was kind of unsure of what I wanted to do. I was thinking that I was going to be a detective, and I wanted to be a detective. Ultimately, the reason I wanted to be a detective was because I just wanted to stop bad people. That was it. I wanted to solve cases and put bad people away in prison that shouldn't be outside and harming society. That's ultimately what I wanted to do. Is I wanted to serve my community, serve society, and put these really bad people away. That was ultimately what it was. And when I was considering being a detective at that time, I wasn't ever thinking about the money. Money was never a factor for me. I never considered money at one point. I didn't. I only thought about this is what I want to do because I want to put bad people away. Bad people who shouldn't be. Because when I was like watching, I watched like a lot of these detective shows, and a lot of these detective shows, these were like true stories. It wasn't like the Law and Order and the other stuff, but I would watch like, for example, like Homicide Hunter of like Joe Kenda, and like I would like watch that show, and each episode was like based on a real case, and they explained like what happened, and I was watching this show, and I was like, these horrible, evil people, they think they can just kill somebody, just get away with it. They think that it's just like killing somebody's like nothing for them. Like they just don't even care about human life. And I was like thinking like I want to make these people pay. Like I want to put these people in prison for the rest of their lives who like do horrible things like that, kill somebody. Like it's like these people should not be on the outside. These people should be in prison rotting for the rest of their lives. Like it just pissed me off that like I was watching those episodes and I just saw these horrible criminals like do these horrible things with no conscience whatsoever. And that's what really pushed me to be a detective at that point. Is I just wanted to punish these really bad people who do these bad things. But like I said, money was never a factor for me. And also, when it comes to detectives, detectives actually have one of the most stressful jobs ever. And if you notice, one thing about detectives is a lot of people who are detectives, like they'll see dead bodies and they won't get freaked out by it. And a lot of times people there's this negative, perception in society. People think that like homicide detectives, for example, are like cold-blooded people that like don't care because they don't have that much reaction to seeing a dead body. But it's because they deal with this like every day. So if you see like dead bodies every day, that's the attitude that you're going to have. So it's like I don't think it's fair the way they portray detectives when they like say detectives are like cold people. They don't really have much of a reaction. Detectives do care. That's why they do their job. They do their best to put these bad people away. But they're not very emotional about this because they deal with this every single day. They see these horrible psychos that they deal with, these psychopaths, these sociopaths, and so it takes a toll on their mental health. Dealing with these horrible people. It's also a dangerous job, but also on top of that is it results in very high divorce rates, because a cop, for example, might have like a specific schedule that they have to follow, like a street cop, but like a detective, they will, they could be called at like 4 o'clock in the morning to like go to the scene of a murder, or, they could leave like family gatherings and their wives will get pissed off, husbands will get pissed off, and they'll get divorces. So that's why detectives have such high divorce rates, because of that specifically, because they have a very stressful job and they're not around for the family. So that's why, like, for example, like you see the stereotype of like detectives who have gone through like 5 divorces. It's specifically because of that. It's because they are not around with their family a lot of times, and they're and ultimately is their wife or husband gets pissed off at them and leaves them. But I still wanted to do that because I wanted to stop these bad people. And some detectives don't get paid very well. Some detectives. But this was ultimately something I wanted to do. And my law enforcement technology degree, it was like a degree combining like criminal law, talking about arraignment, court. I learned about arraignment, court. I learned about procedure, like bagging evidence, like the chain of custody, which a chain of custody is basically like an evidence form that you fill out, when you're collecting evidence. And everybody who comes in contact with the evidence has to fill out the form. I learned about crime scenes, how to clean up crime scenes, how you have to take a minimum of 2 pictures for each piece of evidence that you have. I learned about interviews. I learned about the fact that you never interview 2 people at once. You only interview people one at a time. I learned about Miranda rights, all that other stuff. So that's why when I play like detective games like LA Noire and I play like, Ace Attorney, I talk about what's realistic in these games and what's not realistic. It's directly my knowledge from that degree. And if I wanted to be a detective, if I did, that degree would have been helpful. It would have helped me through law enforcement. I know there's a lot of law enforcement that doesn't require, a college degree, but that would have at least helped me somewhat. But what happened is, as I was going through college, though, I will tell you guys, I wasted a lot of money. And at this exact same time when I was going through college I was working in retail. I worked in retail for 6 years from 2013 to 2019. And the retail job was like, miserable, but I'm not going to talk about that. I've already made a video describing that entire job, but I was saving up a lot of money. And basically how my policy was when I worked in retail is I would, every, week, I would take 90% of my check and just save it. And the other 10% I would just, spend on stuff like video games, groceries and stuff like that, helping my family out. But I would just, put 90% of my check away every time. And I did that for 6 years. And I actually saved up a decent fortune doing that for just 6 years. And what ended up happening is when I was in college, I wasted a lot of my money on these classes. My parents were helping me out. I put some of my money into it too. But some of these classes were just unnecessary. And so when people say that college is a scam, I understand to a degree. I don't think that college is entirely a scam, but I understand to a degree when people like say it's a scam because of the fact that you are forced to take classes in college that have nothing to do with your degree. Like nothing. Like there's like, I'm trying to think of like a class that I took that was like pointless. like I think it was statistics, which I took, which I was like, when I wanted to like work in law enforcement, which I don't know how that would help me. Maybe if I was like working like the desk at like the police station or something like that, like gathering numbers, maybe that would help me. But I wanted to be like a detective out in the field. I like, so like that's like one example. And there's like all these other, examples of like classes, different math classes, science classes that you have to take that have nothing to do with your degree. And this is the one part of college that I kind of can see it's a scam. I don't think that college overall is a scam, but this one part of college, when they tell you, oh, you have to take this degree, you have to finish these classes to get your degree, and you have to get these credits specifically for this degree. And it's like, if this class is not linked directly to your degree, you should not be taking it. That's the way that I personally see it. That's the way I think about it, is that if it's not linked to your degree, there really isn't a point to taking it, and they're wasting your time. The reason the college do this, because the college is a business ultimately, and the college wants more money, and so if they can basically force you to take more classes in the meantime while you're getting a degree, they get more money. And that's what I will say is there are schools now for people wondering, what can I do if I'm not going to college? What can I do? Well, one good thing that you can do is you can go to a trade school. Trade schools are very effective and don't let people tell you trade schools are useless, because trade schools will teach you a trade, and they will teach you, they'll teach you a trade, what you want to do. You want to be an electrician, you go to trade school. You want to be a plumber, you go to trade school. And electricians and plumbers can make good money, especially plumbers. And think about it this way: if you go to a trade school, you learn how to be a plumber, right? And then you get a job with a plumbing company, and you work for that company for a number of years. You save up your money, and then you decide, you know what, I want to start my own thing. And you start up your own business after a number of years. You save up a good amount of money, save cash ready, and then the rest of the money that you need, you take like a mortgage out. And I know in this economy kind of sucks, but basically that's the idea. Is you work in your trade, you work a number of years, the regular job in that trade, and then you could start your own business in that trade. Be a plumber business, be an electrician business, stuff like that. Be a handyman business. Handymen are very common. Handymen make good money, and they make really good tips too. I work with handymen. On my rental properties is, there's two handymen that I send over to my properties depending on what's broken, because the two handymen specialize in different stuff, and they make good money. And they do this, round the clock every day, fixing stuff at other, houses. And don't let people tell you that just because something is manual work, they think that because something is manual work that it's like inferior. They think that it's like bad. No, it's like you can make good money doing these jobs, and especially in construction too. Sometimes construction, you don't even need to go to trade school. A lot of construction jobs. Maybe if you want to be like a supervisor or like a higher up person, maybe you will need a little bit of education. But construction workers can make good money, especially, and if you're working for the government too, you'll get benefits too. So it's don't let people tell you that manual work is worse, because ultimately, like I said, a job is a job, and it's what you wanna do with your life. So like I would say, go to trade school, maybe like start up your own business after that, and just think generally. Just think like what is it that I'm good at? Just think about that. What is it that I'm good at? What is it that I like? What is it that I specialize in? Because I had this one guy who came into my stream the other day, and I felt really bad for the guy. And the guy basically said in the comments, he said that, I'm too dumb to go to college, and just saying stuff like that. And I said to him, no, dude, it's like, don't think that. Because it's like, don't ever think that you're too dumb. Nobody's dumb. It's like everybody is good at something. Everybody, and the thing is though, is that, while you might not be good at certain things, there might be people that might laugh at you, for not being good at one thing that they're good at. But I guarantee you there's something that you're good at that they suck at. Ultimately, people have their skills. There's things that people are good at that other people aren't good at. So everybody's good at something. Everybody's unique. Everybody has some kind of talent. So don't think ever, I'm dumb. I can't do this. I'm not going to achieve anything in my life, because that's not a good way to get yourself down. You want to be focused. You want to follow your dreams, and just follow whatever you're good at. That's what you want to do. And I will tell you that I suck at math. I had bad grades in math. In history, science, English, I always had amazing grades. But in math, I wasn't that good. I wasn't that good at math. I'll be honest with you. I sucked at math. I tried, but I just wasn't that good at it. And I will also say this. When I was in high school, I was jealous of the jocks. like the people that played football. I was jealous of them because they were really fit and athletic, and I would work out. I would try really hard to work out. I would try to eat more, but I was always kind of a skinny guy. Today I'm a little bit better, with that. I'm a little bit more muscular. I've been doing it more, following more of a strict diet and strict workout. But at that time in high school, I was just way skinny, or I was jealous of a lot of these kids. And I was wishing I could be like as athletic as these like football kids, and it got me really down. But the thing about that is, one thing that did cheer me up is those same jocks, those same kids that were really good at football. What I noticed about them is I noticed that they started asking me for help with their history homework because they didn't know history. They didn't really know anything about history. They weren't good at it. So while they were amazing at football, like I could never play football like them. Like if I played football against them, they would destroy me, absolutely destroy me. I'd have no chance. I probably wouldn't even score once. But when it came to history, I was way more knowledgeable than them. So never think like this. Just because somebody's strong and athletic, it doesn't necessarily mean that they're good in everything else. There might be something that you're better at. When it comes to writing, knowledge. There might be something that you're better at. So if you ever look at that, and you ever look at somebody and you think, oh, they're so much successful, they're better than me. Just think about this. I'm probably better at something than them. So don't let this stuff get you down. And I will say that, as for college being a scam, I think that the people who think that you need college to be successful in life, are stupid. I think that if you think that people that you're going to be a failure if you don't go to college, I think it's just a stupid argument. I'm not trying to insult the people that are dead, but I think it's just a bad argument because you could go into college and be a failure too. That's what people think. People think that's because you get a degree that you're going to be successful in life. And I will say that. Is that ultimately, I think the most important thing is experience and hard work. You have to be dedicated. You have to, want to like what you're doing and focused. And don't give up. Don't let yourself get down. Keep pushing. Keep pushing yourself. Say, I want to get better. I want to do this better. I want to move up in life. Stuff like that. But like the people who think that you need college, and if they think that if you're not going to be going to college, that you're going to be a failure or that you're going to be an idiot, it's a stupid argument. And I will also say this, the people who think that college is a scam, that argument I would say is also stupid. Because you can make the argument that some parts of college are a scam, like some of those classes that you take that aren't necessary. But to say the whole thing overall is a scam, no, because there are some degrees that help you, that generally help you. And like these degrees might be like being a doctor, being like a lawyer, stuff like that. Those are degrees that will help you because you cannot be a doctor, you cannot be a lawyer without having a college degree. You just can't. So there's definitely fields that you have to have a college education in if you want to work in those fields. And I will also say this about this. This is kind of more personal what I'm saying here. But I will say that that whatever you do, make sure that you like it. But also, I will say, is that don't just focus on the money. I know people obsess over the money, but just make sure that you truly enjoy what you're doing. Because if you get a job that you make a lot of money from, but you really hate it, you're going to come into work every day with like a really, bad attitude, really unhappy attitude, and you're just not going to be happy in general. And I will say that for two jobs that I don't think that people should be going into them for money are doctors and lawyers. Now, I know people might be very surprised to hear me say that, but the reason I think that I'm not saying people shouldn't be doctors and shouldn't be lawyers, but what I'm saying is people who go into being a doctor or a lawyer and their number one reason is money, like their number one reason, like I want to be a lawyer and a doctor, number one reason is money, I don't think they should be doctors or lawyers. I don't think they should be. And the reason I think that way is because both of those jobs are jobs where you help people. Those are jobs where you care for people and you help them. Doctors treat people. They care for sick people. And lawyers, they help people who are wrongly, accused. They help people that are screwed over by corporations, like people who are dealing with like a lawsuit, like some scummy corporation that screwed somebody over. Lawyers are there to help that person also. So there's not just scumbag lawyers, there's good lawyers who actually care. And one thing that I know the Ace Attorney games are really unrealistic, they are, but one thing that I like about the Ace Attorney games, and one thing that I do think is true about the Ace Attorney games, is that the key to being a lawyer is to believe in your client. That's what I say. That's one thing I love about the Ace Attorney games is I believe in my client. And that is what lawyers should do. When lawyers fight for their client, they should believe in their client, and they should believe that their client is wrongly being accused here. They should believe that their client has been if it's a civil case, their client has been screwed over by some large corporation, and they're here to get justice. They're doing this for a living, they're doing this to get money, but they're also doing this as justice. Their number one reason. And as for doctors, their number one reason, so lawyers, their number one reason should be justice. That's why they want to be a lawyer. You fight for what's right, fight for the law. And for doctors, their number one reason for being a doctor is to help people. Help treat people, help people deal with disease, sickness. Help people who are in pain. That's what doctors should be. Should be their ultimate goal. Because if you have somebody that's being a lawyer or a doctor and they're going in there primarily for money, you begin to think to yourself, do they really care about their patients? Do they really care about their clients? Do they really? I will tell you guys, I had this one guy who was a friend of mine in high school. And he was a friend of mine for a couple of years, but he became really arrogant over time, and he just stopped being nice to us. The rest of my other two friends, he started being rude to us, nasty to us. He started being extremely entitled, thinking that he was better than us constantly, and eventually the friendship just ended. I don't know where this guy is right now, this former friend of mine, but one thing that I really hated that he constantly said is he said, I want to be a lawyer. I want to make money. That was ultimately, and I hated that attitude. I hated that you just want to go into being a lawyer. I understand people like money. Everybody likes money. But going into a field like that of law, primarily because you like money and not because you want to help people get justice, that's not a good attitude to have. And I don't think that somebody that has that attitude is going to be a good lawyer or a good doctor. So that's ultimately what I think about it. So basically, to summarize here, college is good for certain fields, like being a doctor, a lawyer. And I'm sure there's other fields. Being a scientist, probably you need a college degree for that. And there's probably other fields. I'll just name all of them at the top of my head right now. But doctors and lawyers are the most common ones that I can think of. But there's plenty of jobs that you can get without having to go to college. Working in trade, you can become a plumber. You can become an electrician. You can become a handyman. Even become a garbage man. Like garbage men make good money. There is you could start up your own business. So there is just so many things that you can do. So people think that college has endless possibilities, but also is not going to college has endless possibilities as well. And don't let people tell you otherwise. And I will say that the problem also that I've seen with a lot of college students, some college degrees are great, that they promise you a job right after your degree. But one thing that I've noticed is that some college students are extremely entitled when it comes to it. So I finished, my degree, and I'll talk about why I didn't end up doing my degree in a little bit. But there are some college students that what they will do is they believe that the moment they get out of college, they're entitled to a job. Like they finish their college, they get their degree, and they're like, I'm entitled to a job now. I have the degree, I'm going to get a job. When you might have the degree, but you know what you don't have? You don't have this experience. That's what you don't have. And that's why most college graduates struggle with finding a job, because they don't have experience. And so a company might look at you and say, oh, you have this fancy college degree, but you don't have experience. Oh, I'm going to go to the next person that has experience. So that's what I will say about that. The college degree might help them get their job, but it's ultimately experience, which is going to help out a lot more. So some jobs are going to require the degree. Some jobs aren't. The degree might help, but ultimately, if I'm personally hiring at a company, I would look for experience more. Somebody who's been doing this for years versus somebody who's never done this and just a degree. But unfortunately, there's a lot of people out there who they act really entitled. They think that they deserve a job right away when they get out of college. And I'll tell you guys a quick story about this. My half-brother was just like this. So my half-brother, he ended up finishing college. Not in America. He ended up finishing college in Poland. That's where he lives. And what my half-brother ended up doing is he graduated in philosophy. That's what he got a degree in. And I'm not mocking philosophy. It's great to know philosophy. My favorite philosopher is probably Voltaire, the French philosopher. But anyways, when it comes to philosophy, though, is that while it's great to know philosophy, you're more educated on it, it's a terrible degree to get a job in. It's getting a degree in philosophy is more just something personally for yourself. That's a title for yourself instead of getting a job. The only way I can think of getting a job in philosophy is if you get a job as a philosophy teacher or you write a book about philosophy. That's it. Like, I cannot think of anything. Maybe you could help in like a documentary talking about philosophers or something like that. But other than that, I cannot think of anything else. Like, can you guys think of anything else to get a job of a philosophy degree other than being like a teacher or like working for a documentary or writing a book? Because I honestly cannot think of anything else to get with that type of degree. Like, and my half brother got this degree in philosophy, and then he believed that he was going to get a job right afterwards. And he was like looking around. He was looking at companies. He was going to companies. He was going to schools. Possibly becoming a teacher, possibly getting a job at some, company. And I don't know all the places that he applied to, but the only thing that I know about this is he endlessly complained. He would just constantly complain to my dad. He's like, I'm going to places, I'm applying. He'd call him and tell him I can't find a job anywhere. And at that time, I was too young to understand this because he's like, 15, 17 years older than me. I don't even know his exact age. We're not close, by the way, at all. So we barely know each other. But about my half brother is he was just entitled on this. He thought that because by him getting this philosophy degree that he's gonna get his job right away, he's gonna get entitled. Well, it's like you got a degree in philosophy. It's like, what do you expect? You got yourself in debt, and now you have a degree in philosophy. It's like, what do you expect to do with this exactly? So that's what I'll say about that. And the other thing I wanted to say is I wanted to talk about internships. And internships, these are basically where while you are working for your college degree, you might get a job at a company that you plan on working with in that specific field. And the internship is basically working as like an assistant to somebody at a job, maybe like an assistant to a doctor, like an assistant to a lawyer, assistant to some CEO, stuff like that. But a lot of internships are actually scams because internships aren't there for, students to learn job experience. They're there to make companies money through cheap labor. That's what internships are for. And some internships, they won't pay at all. And if you're ever doing an internship and they don't pay you at all, they just tell you, oh, we'll give you experience and we'll give you free food. No, don't do it because it's a scam. They just want free work. That's ultimately what they want from you. So they just want you to be their assistant for free. But that's what I'll say about internships is that these companies' primarily motivations is to just get cheap labor. And the internships are not as helpful as you think they are. A lot of people think that internships are so helpful that they will, get them to high places, but they're not always that helpful. And these companies are taking advantage of you specifically for cheap labor. That's what these companies are doing it for. They're not doing it primarily to help you. They're doing it primarily for cheap labor. And I wouldn't be surprised that college gets some kind of cut from this too, that they get some kind of money from these companies for, sending these students over. Now, I wanted to talk about my degree and how I finished it and why I ended up going in law enforcement. So I was at the same time that I was doing this law enforcement technology degree, it was a bachelor's degree. As I was doing this degree, right? I was doing YouTube, and YouTube is something that I did for years. I started in like 2015, but my first videos were like garbage. Like they were badly edited. My original live streams were like terrible. Like they were boring. Like I didn't do anything special on them. Just random terrible gameplay. But I kept doing that. I was doing it like for fun occasionally, and after like a year and a half, I only gained like 300 something subscribers. That was it. But then what happened is when the GTA gun running update came out, gun running changed my life because when gun running came out, I started doing videos on gun running, like making some videos, like guides, how to sell a business, how to sell the bunker. And those views took off. They got so many views. And I was monetized before that because back then you could monetize even if you had like 300 subscribers. But that pushed me over. Like I got like over 1,000 subscribers in like a couple days. So like it was like a year and a half, I got 300 subscribers, but then I got 1,000 subscribers in like a couple days. And that just blew me away. I was like, whoa, how did this happen? And I will admit it was luck at first. It was because I got lucky that the algorithm picked up my videos. A lot of YouTubers won't admit to this, that it's luck originally. But how YouTube basically works is the first few videos that get recommended by the algorithm, it's luck. But then afterwards, it's skill. So the original to get your first groups of views, like your high views to get something go viral, is luck. But then afterwards, it's more skill because you're working on it. And so I was like, people really like this. Like maybe I'll make more guides on this. And I kept making more guides on GTA, more videos, and it got more popular, more views. And then Smuggler's Run came out a couple months later. I did videos on that. And then afterwards, Doomsday Heist came out. I did videos on that. And then Nightclub DLC came out a year after gun running. And I kept doing that. And by 2018, I went from like 2017 to 2018 getting 100,000 subscribers in 1 year. And I was making a decent amount of money from that. And I was making, such good money that at that point, I could just quit my job. I didn't need to do my job. But I at that point, I didn't want to quit my job right away because I felt kind of scared still doing YouTube because it was like something new that I was doing. But I worked hard on it. I put effort into it, and I set a goal, and I said, I want to do this. And I made a strict schedule for myself. It's like, I live stream on Fridays, Red Dead. Sundays, we do GTA. And it was like every Saturday, we would do a top 5. So back in the day, I used to do like a top 5 or a top 10 like every week. And then I would also go to work, and I just kept pushing myself. And I was also studying at the same time. And I realized, well, I make a decent living from this now. And this was something I did on my own. Like, I didn't go to school on how to be a YouTuber or anything like this. It just took off. I worked hard on it. I learned, from experience, like what people, I read comments. I read what you guys liked, how you guys, when I made an editing mistake, you guys told me in the comments. I learned from that, and I had more experience, and I got better at it. So I got better at editing videos, putting videos together, and eventually I got better at Photoshop. I started Photoshopping, stuff much better, and I started editing pictures much better, and I got much better at it over time. So it's just, skill and hard work that I put into it, and I grew on that. And by the time I finished college, I graduated in May 2019, and I was thinking to myself, like, I'm making good money on YouTube and I'm happy with that. And I was like, what can I do to make myself happier? It's like, do I really want to go into being a detective? And don't get me wrong, I still wanted to get justice. I still wanted to work, put these bad people away. But I was thinking to myself, I make good money on YouTube right now. If I become a detective, I won't have as much time for doing YouTube. I would have to start out as a cop, regular cop, and then, work my way up, but I won't have as much time to do YouTube. And then I'll have other things to do too. And so I had to decide at that point, do I want to do YouTube, or do I want to become a law enforcement official? And I decided doing YouTube. And I decided on doing YouTube primarily because even though I did believe in justice, I did want to put these bad people away. It was because YouTube made me really happy. It was that. I did, like law enforcement, don't get me wrong, but YouTube made me really happy. It was something that I could do, something that I could create personally on my own time. And you guys liked it, and you guys supported it. And so I made, good money from that. And I said, you know what? I'm not going into law enforcement. I'm not doing this. And my mom was skeptical at first. She's like, you should try to apply somewhere. Like, get a job. I'm like, no, Mom. Like, I'm going to do this YouTube. And I was very firm in it. I was very firm on that. And at that job in retail, I only worked at that job for 4 more months because I realized I don't need this either. I don't need to, get yelled at by customers. I don't need to deal with a scummy, toxic boss. I don't need this stuff. So I at that point, I was like, I'm done with this. I'm done with this. I'm done with retail, and I'm just going to do YouTube. And I did YouTube, and eventually I started growing my channel into other stuff. And I took a view cut, and I took a pay cut because it was ultimately what made me happy, because I made way more money back then than I do now with GTA. And I did pretty well on the GTA videos, but I didn't want to be stuck doing just GTA. So I took a risk. I started doing other content, other games. And eventually it turned into the cosplay playthroughs, which I do right now, which have nothing to do with GTA. And those have gotten popular over time. I make less money than I did with GTA videos, but I'm more happy. And so my happiness was the most important thing there. So I made good money with that. And what I eventually did was I saved up a good amount of money. And I also purchased a car from my retail money when I was working in retail, because I saved up a decent amount of money. I would save up my checks. I wouldn't, spend my money, like crazy. I cared about my future. And the problem I think that a lot of people have is that a lot of times people think when they get paid, they think, what's the fastest way that I can spend this? They don't think about, where am I going to be 10 years from now? How can I invest this money in the future? They don't think about that stuff a lot of times. I'm not trying to insult people, but I'm saying is a lot of young people don't think about that. They just think about, how can I spend all my money at once? And I was, careful with my money. I wanted to save up my money for the future. And what eventually happened is I moved out of state. I moved, I started moving away. And I will say this is, if you can, live with your parents for as long as you can, because your parents love you and they don't want to see you go. And you're saving a lot of money on rent by living with your family. And not only that, you spend time with your family, but it's not as shameful to, move away. It's not shameful to live with your family. But a lot of people think that it's shameful to live with your family. But I would say if you're living with your family, support your parents too. Help your parents out with bills and stuff like that. That's what I did too. But it's not shameful. I moved out in like 2020. And how old would I have been at 2020? It was like 4 years ago. So I moved out when I was like 26. That's when I moved out of my parents' house. And it was because I wanted to start a new chapter in my life at that point, and I wanted to move away from New York. I wanted to go to another state. I wanted to possibly start a business there, and I wanted to go to a state that was more affordable, less taxes, more business friendly, and I went to the Midwest, and I saved up a lot of money for my YouTube thing. And what I did was I took the vast majority of my YouTube money. It was a bit risky, but what I did was I took the YouTube money and I decided to put it in real estate, and I decided to put it into a rental property. I bought a 4-bedroom house, and I put the money into a rental property for for two reasons. The first reason, it's a business that makes me, money. But the second reason is because it's a way for me to protect my assets and protect my money. Because what really pushed me to, I spent like the vast majority of my money, like 90% of my money, on that first rental property. And I will say about this is that when the inflation was happening and it was getting really bad with inflation, I was thinking my money is going to lose value if it's just sitting in the bank. Like, I got to do something with it. I got to invest my money. I got to do something with it. So I was thinking I'm going to start some kind of business. And I was thinking I'm going to do a rental property, because a rental property is not a business that I have to be at every single day. There might be something that might occasionally break and I have to send a handyman over. But occasionally it's like, you get good tenants, you build a good relationship with the tenants. Is, landlord to tenant relationship is kind of the tenant relationship business and a customer relationship. But you build a good relationship with your tenants. You make money from that over time. You help your tenants out when they need it, when something breaks, and, provide a good service. They'll take care of the house and, make money from it. And so I put that money into rental properties because I made good money from that first rental property. And also on top of that is it was a way for me to protect my assets, because the money was still there. It was just in the land. Land typically goes up. So having it sit in the bank, the money was losing value because of inflation. But buying real estate and investing in that helped me to create a business. And then what happened was 2 years later, after that first rental property, I bought a second rental property. It was because I saved a lot of money. I was very careful with my money. I wasn't like cheap or greedy or anything, but I was very careful with my money. I didn't buy like luxuries. I didn't buy like cars. I didn't buy expensive clothes. I was just very careful with my money, and I bought a second rental property. And I think the second rental is enough for me for now. I think I'll make good money from the two rentals, and it's a way because I wanted to diversify my income. I wanted to make money in other ways, and at this point is my mom realized that I made this YouTube channel successful and the rental properties, and that had nothing to do with my college education, nothing. And she told me that I was right in the end. She apologized for being so pushy. She told me she just wanted what was best for me, and I have nothing against my mom for this. She just wanted what was best for me, and she believed that college was it. But I was careful with my money. I worked in the retail job. Even though it was a toxic environment, I had 6 years of experience working there. At least I understood somewhat how some businesses worked, and I eventually I was looking up a lot of stuff and trying to figure out what I wanted to do with my life. And YouTube was successful, and I wanted to expand and diversify my income. And so that's where the rental properties came in. And I will say this is what I want to do next in my life is I want to expand my business further. Not with the rental properties, but I want to start another business. I want to either get a car wash in the future, like a self-service car wash, or I want to start a vending machine business. And a vending machine business, I'm not an expert on this, so don't take what I say as fact, but from what I've seen, it's an easy business that anyone can start up. Anyone. And it doesn't require that much money to start up, because you can find, vending machines on Facebook Marketplace for a couple $100s. And so I was looking up like YouTube channels on vending machines. And I did the same thing for rental properties. I looked up like how rental properties work. I Googled it, like, how leases work, how to create a lease, stuff like that, and I looked up like the market rates in my area, like what houses are renting out for, what they're going for. I looked that up. And I did that because I wanted to, be competitive with other people that were in the area renting out similar homes to mine. And I looked up, laws in my area. I looked up if I needed a permit, stuff like that. And so this was not with college education. I learned all about the rental, business just Googling it, and YouTube videos, landlords talking about, rentals and stuff like that. And that's how I learned about it. And when it comes to vending machines, that's the next thing. I want to start a vending machine business, and I want to own like a fleet of vending machines, maybe like 2 or 3 vending machines. I don't think I want to do more than that, but buy a few vending machines, buy a few vending machines for cash, look them up. And I checked around, and there are people that sell in my town vending machines for cash. So it wouldn't be a problem to acquire them. And I live in a town in the Midwest, but if you live in a big city, you could probably find vending machines, they're more common for you. But anyways, I looked up vending machines, and I looked up like laws. I looked up what the best places to place them. And the hardest thing about a vending machine business, from what I've read, is the location, trying to find a location, because you have to talk to the owner, because you are putting the vending machine on private property, unless it's your property, and you talk to the owner, and you try to convince the owner that you're providing a service to try to get the vending machine at that location, or you give the owner a cut. But and then there's trying to find the best location, like trying to find busy locations, like a mall or a hotel, trying to find those locations where you think the vending machine would be the most successful at. And then, buying snacks from places like Costco, putting it in the machine. And then also I have to do like a sales tax license. So I was researching in my state the laws, and I have to get a sales tax license. And, the point that I'm getting at is that all of this stuff that I did is that this is all knowledge that you can just look up and Google on your own. Like this is what the wonderful thing about the internet is, that it's not like, back like 50 years ago where you have to find a specific book on a specific thing. And today, like if you want to start a vending machine business, you can go on Google and look up how to start a vending machine business. And you can read so many articles, watch videos from people who are running them, look up like the best locations, look up laws and stuff like that. If you need a sales tax license, stuff. So you can find all this stuff for free, online. Look it all up. And that's the beauty of the internet, especially YouTube, is that you can learn skills from YouTube videos. You can learn how to do stuff. You can learn how to fix most things. If anything breaks, anything breaks, in your house or in your car, whatever else, you can go on YouTube and look up that exact same thing. How do I fix this thing that breaks? And you'll probably have a dozen videos that'll pop up. And it's a business too, because those people want to make money making videos showing people how to fix these things. So they're benefiting too. So it's a mutual benefit. The people watching the videos get a benefit because they learn a skill, and the other person, they get paid for the ads. So the viewers aren't paying them directly. So that's one thing that's great about YouTube, is it's a constant learning environment. It's great. It's that you can learn all this stuff online. You don't necessarily need a college education. The only thing I will say when it comes to learning stuff online is make sure that whatever you are watching, whether it's an article or a video, it's from a credible source. And one good way to find out if it's a credible source or not is to look at the comments. If you see like tons of comments of people saying this really helped me out, this is great, it's typically a reliable video. But if you see comments, people getting pissed, probably not the best to watch. And it's also stupid that YouTube disabled dislikes, because if you could see a video that has 99% likes, you know that the video is helpful. Like I watched videos on like how to cook, for example, like how to cook a lot of recipes. Like there's entire channels dedicated to cooking on YouTube that'll teach you how to cook different recipes. And so I've always sucked at cooking, and I've tried to get better at it. And I've looked up videos how to cook like quesadillas, which quesadillas are one of my favorite foods to cook. And I've gotten pretty good at it, just learning that. I'm stuck at cooking other foods, but I've gotten good at learning how to cook quesadillas because I've watched a lot of YouTube videos on it. And like, for example, like a year ago, what happened was in my car, I got into my car and I had this little notification that came up on the dashboard. And the notification was, parking light malfunction. And I Googled it. I could have taken it to the shop and just, wasted money. I Googled it. And I Googled it, what is the parking light, malfunction? What is it exactly? And people said on Google that it happens when your parking light burns out typically. And I actually, I turned on the lights in my car and I looked very carefully. I didn't even know which one was the parking light. I'll be honest, I don't know anything about cars. So I Googled my car specifically, and I looked up pictures of my car, and I looked up which one is the parking light specifically. And I looked around and I saw one of the parking lights wasn't working. It was burnt out. So that parking light was out. And then there was the next step. So I figured out that where the parking light was, it was burnt out. Now the next step was, how do I replace it? So I looked up a video, my specific car model, I typed it in on YouTube, and I looked up how to change the parking light, and I did it. It wasn't like a complicated thing. I had to open up the hood. It was like this one little like tube thing I had to take out and like unscrew this thing, and then there was like a wire I had to unplug. But I bought 2 new parking lights, that I put them in the car. And, and one of my friends who was also a mechanic, I asked him for a few tips on this. He gave me a few tips, and I changed it. And this was all stuff that I just learned. And I did not need a college education to learn. So basically, I'm getting at is that there is so much stuff that you can learn online. So much stuff when it comes to repairs, even social skills. You can even learn how to talk to people, like speech skills. Like there are channels out there that deal with like how to, public speaking and stuff like that. Channels that deal with how to fix cars. Channels that deal with cooking. Channels that deal with, I'm trying to think also, writing, art. There is just like an endless amount of YouTube channels that are free education that you could just watch, and that those help people out all the time. So there's so many skills that you can learn without going to college. So don't think that college is the only place that you can learn valuable skills. And I'm not a mechanic or anything. I don't want to ever be a mechanic. I'm just not into cars. It's not my thing. But at least I wanted to save money. That's ultimately why I wanted to learn, the thing. Because if you learn how to do something, if you learn how to fix something, that's that's a plus for you. That's like, one thing that you know how to learn, and you don't have to rely on somebody, and it ultimately helps you save money. That's what it is. That's ultimately what it is too. And I will tell you guys that in 2022, like my first rental property in 2022, when I purchased that first rental property, I didn't know how to change a lock. I'll be honest. I guess you could call me kind of dumb with this, but I didn't know how to change a lock in a door. And what I did was I paid my handyman, and he changed all the locks in the house. Because I was, I know that other people aren't probably going to break in, but, you never know where the other person's key could go, the other people who lived in the house. So you don't know if they had an extra, if somebody steals it from them or somebody tries to get in the house. You never know. So that's why I had all the locks in the house changed. And when I purchased a new rental property, just like a couple months back, what I did was I looked up videos how to change locks, and I looked up like the size of the lock in the doors that I was looking, and I went on Amazon and I ordered those specific locks, and I changed all the locks in the house. Like I changed a bunch of the locks in the house, like on 3 doors. I changed the locks in the house. I changed the regular doorknob, and then the deadbolt. I think that's what it's called, the deadbolt. I changed that too. All this stuff. I know it's like basic stuff, but I didn't know how to do this before. And a lot of people would have just called for a handyman. Now, some people call a handyman for when they're fire when they're a smoke detector when it starts beeping. They'll call a handyman when all you need to do is change the battery. So there's like simple things that like you can learn how to do and save you money. And there's even more better skills that you can learn. But basically that's what I'm getting at. And wrapping this up, I'll say that college education is college education. Some people are very entitled with it, but also I will say that, and I want to say this, I don't want people putting words in my mouth because I'm going to comment on one thing political here, but when it comes to like forgiving people's like debts, like forgiving loans that people have, I'm not necessarily against that, but what I would say is that if you're going to forgive like student loans, you have to also forgive business loans for people in that same age group. So if you have like a college student that like went to college, I'm not against forgiving their loan. What I'm saying is if there's like a kid that also like got a loan after high school because he wanted to start up his own business, they should get loan forgiveness too. Because I don't think that it's fair that somebody that went to college, gets loan forgiveness, but somebody who got a loan for, starting up a small business gets no loan forgiveness. I think the government should help in both aspects. I think that if you're going to help in college, I'm not against it. Like I said, I don't want people saying, "Oh, you're against forgiving people's debts." No, not what I'm saying. Is I'm not against forgiving people's debts as long as you help the people who start a small business. Because other than that, I don't think it's fair. And I remember that I got into an argument with this guy in a YouTube comment section about this, saying like, I hope that the government forgives people's small business loans. And he says like, they shouldn't have to do that. They shouldn't do that. Like he was so supportive of like forgiving college loans, but he was so against forgiving small business loans for like, kids that like in their 20s, like, kids that would be the same age that they're graduating, like, college. And I was asking him like, why are you against forgiving like small business loans? And he was basically saying that when people graduate college, that they're going to add more to society, and that, a more highly educated society is better for society, where somebody who's creating a business does not add anything to society. And I responded that I was thinking, seriously, dude, is like, you're saying that somebody who graduates college is adding to society, but somebody who starts a small business is not adding to society. Somebody who starts a small business is also adding to society. They're helping the economy. They're helping their communities. If somebody starts up a business that provides good products and good prices in their neighborhood, they're helping their community as well. I understand that their primary motivation is their business, but they're also helping their community at the same time. So that just pissed me off when I heard that guy tell me that college students add to society, but small businesses don't. It's like, no, they do add to society as well. They also make contributions. So I don't want people putting words in my mouth. I don't want people saying that I'm saying that loans shouldn't be forgiven. I'm not necessarily against forgiving loans, but as long as people who get small business loans also are forgiven. That's it. Because other than that, I don't think that it's fair that somebody goes to college, gets their loan forgiven, but somebody who gets a loan for a small business is not forgiven. That's just my view. And also, somebody who starts with a small business is taking the biggest risk with their life, because they could go homeless. Like a college student, at least for the most part, is not going to go homeless. Because they're getting educated, they're trying to get a degree in something, so it's not like their degree is going to fail in the middle of it. I mean, unless they fail college. But businesses, the point I'm getting at, small businesses have more of a risk, because they could set up a business in a bad location. Maybe they don't know how to compete. Maybe they don't know about the markets. They lose business. They can't pay their property taxes. They can't pay their bills. They can't pay their rent, whatever it is, and they can't pay back their mortgage, and they lose their business, and they go into bankruptcy. And, for people that say that, people get small business loans, can just declare bankruptcy, college students can't do that. Well, what I'll say about that is nobody wants to declare bankruptcy. Declaring bankruptcy destroys your reputation, because while it might save you from the debt in the short term, it destroys your reputation, because you will never be able to get a loan in the future. It'll just tank your credit score, and your business will look bad. So it has a very negative impact. Some people think, people have small business loans can just go declare bankruptcy, but, college kids, can't do that. There's very much a risk of declaring bankruptcy as well. It's like I said, the loan might be forgiven if you declare bankruptcy, but it's going to destroy your reputation. And so, like I said, I think both loans should be forgiven. If you're going to forgive college student loans, you have to forgive small business loans. That's the way I see it, because I don't think that it's fair that small business kid that goes into business is not going to is not going to be forgiven. And that's ultimately my summary here, guys, is that the that college is only necessary for certain things that you go into, like being a doctor, a lawyer, but there's plenty of jobs that you can go into, and there's plenty, you can start up your own business. Like I said, the vending machine business, it's a cheap business that anyone can start. And if you have a bunch of vending machines, so people think, oh, I'm not going to make that much money from snacks. But if you have a bunch of vending machines in good locations, you can make a decent amount of money. There's people who make an entire living on this, nothing but vending machines. So there are businesses, there are ways that people can make money. They can learn, start up their business. They can learn a trade and then maybe start up their own business from that trade later on. There's a number of things people can do. People can, get like a job like working in construction, which that's not a bad job. So like there's a, electrician, plumber. There's endless amounts of jobs. And what I will say for people, for the reason that most Americans did not go to college like decades ago, it's not that they couldn't afford it. It's not that they were stupid. The reason most Americans didn't go to college, decades ago, is because a lot of jobs back then, what they would do is they would give you a class and they would teach you the skills in those classes, and they would pay for your training as well, and then you would get the job. But unfortunately, some companies, I will concede this, now require the college degree, and it's stupid. One of my friends, friend's dad, he works in Verizon, and he worked there for several years, and what ended up happening is one day his boss told him, hey, you need a college degree to keep doing what you're doing. But he's like, boss, I work for years. I know what I'm doing. He's like, I know that you know what you're doing, but you need a college degree. And my one of my friends, who's a state trooper, he wants to eventually be chief of his town. He's in a very small town. Population I think is like under 100. I know that the chief is like for like a few towns I think in that region, but he's been a cop there for a number of years, and eventually he wants to work his way up being a chief. And the chief actually likes him, and the chief actually wants him to take over for him. But for him to be chief in that area, he has to go do college. And I asked him, I'm like, do you know all the requirements to be a chief? He's like, yes. I'm like, you know all the laws, all the procedure, everything that you have to direct your officers with? He's like, yes, I know everything. I would probably learn more, but generally I know everything. And I said to him, and they're still requiring you to go to college. And he's like, yeah. I'm like, that's stupid, because if the person, he's been working as a cop for years, he has the experience, he knows what it takes to be a chief, is he shouldn't be required to go to college. But that's what I'll say, is some jobs are stupid. Well, they will require you to go to college when you don't really need it. And it ultimately comes from this college elitist attitude. That's ultimately where it comes from. So is college necessary? My opinion, no. I don't think so. It depends on what you want to do. If you want to be a doctor, a lawyer, or some other really specialized skill, yes, you need college. But there's plenty of jobs that you can make good money without being in college. And don't let people judge you. Don't let people look down on you for being like a construction worker, being a garbage man, being a plumber, because these guys make good money. That's what I'll say about that. They make good money. And, some people might look down on me for being a YouTuber, but I love what I do. And I expanded my business. I learned, how to do rental properties, and I want to learn how to do vending machines. So, there's stuff that you can constantly learn, you can gain through experience, and I don't think that it's all based on college. So ultimately, it depends on what you want to do. But don't let people sit there and tell you that you need to go to college, be successful in life, or you're going to be a failure. Because I see a lot of college students that graduate in their degrees, and they're in debt for the good portion of their lives afterwards, and then they're complaining that they can't find a job. Versus people who went to trade school, they learned the trade, they're not in debt because trade school is a lot cheaper than going to college. If you get a scholarship that pays for your college, go ahead. Education is always more, free education especially is always a good thing. So there's nothing wrong in taking that. But don't feel like you need to. If you want to go to college, you like it, you want a specialized skill, do it. Whatever you want to do. But don't let society tell you that you need to go to college or you're going to be like an idiot. And I will say lastly here is that what you want to do in life might not come at you until years later. And I will tell you, last thing here, this came to me years later. It was 2 or 3 years ago. It finally came to me what I would have done if I hadn't done YouTube and I hadn't done my rental properties, what I would have done. And you know what it was? Gunsmithing. Gunsmithing is basically the study of firearms, putting firearms together. There's a lot of places that are hiring in this, a lot of gun stores that hire in this. And this is also a service, like pawn shops and stuff like that, where hire this, where, customers come in specifically for that. And this is just a hobby of mine. I've always liked older firearms. I've always liked the internals of them. I always like, taking them apart, putting them together. That's just something that I've liked. But even though I liked that, and I like doing that, and I was always interested in these firearms, especially the historical firearms, I never considered doing it as a job. I don't know why. It just never came across me as like doing it as a job, even though I liked it. And one of my best friends, he went to college for it. And yes, there are colleges that you can go for gunsmithing. And he liked that. That was something that he went to college for. He graduated in it. He took it all online. And I was like looking at this like, yeah, that's what I would have done. I'm not going to do it now because I'm successful with my business. I'm successful with my YouTube channel. I don't really need it. I don't really need to spend money on something like that. But that's like, I figured that out when I was like, 28 years old, what I wanted to do. But that's what I would have done ultimately is, people ask me what I would have done if it wasn't like YouTube, if it wasn't like the rentals. And I'll say it was gunsmithing. That's ultimately what I would have done. That was ultimately, it's just a hobby of mine. It's what I like. And, everybody has their likes and dislikes. And, that's what I liked. And that's what I would have chosen to do. But this, like I said, this might not come at you until years later. You never know when it's going to come at you. And as for all my history knowledge, people oftentimes are very impressed with my history knowledge. People call me like a walking encyclopedia when it comes to like all these different wars and time periods and dates and all these different people that did. Because people always ask me historical questions on my streams, but about it is people think that my history knowledge comes from college and high school. It doesn't. Some of the history knowledge did help for the college courses. Don't get me wrong. Like some of the college courses helped me with law. I still remember a lot of laws. But the vast majority of my history knowledge did not come from college. You know where it came from? It came from watching documentaries that was free, and also came from reading online, especially Wikipedia. Wikipedia is a great source. And I know some people would laugh at me for saying that, but Wikipedia, I truly believe, is a great source. Because if there's any false information on Wikipedia, it's going to be corrected really quickly. It'll be changed. And the great thing about Wikipedia is when it comes to history, you could look up like a historical battle, like the Battle of Stalingrad. And when you look up the Battle of Stalingrad, you could look up, for example, what date did the battle started, the prelude to the battle, how long the battle went for, and there's like different pages that you can click on. You can click on the different Soviet and German generals that were in the battle, learn about them, learn about what happened to them after the battle. You can also click on the tactics that were used, like look up this pages on tactics, World War II tactics. You can then click on a different page that looks up like the guns that were used in the Stalingrad. And so like one page is based on like the history of Stalingrad can like transfer into so many different pages. You can learn about the guns that were used, the commanders, the tactics, the time period, the terrain, just so much stuff. And then you can also like click on the city itself and learn that the city is now called Volgograd and like learn about the modern history of the city. So that's why Wikipedia is such a great source for history, because you could take like one topic of history and then there's so many different like points in the article that you can click on and like learn about all different things of that specific event. Where like other articles, it's just like talking about like the Battle of Stalingrad, that's it. But like Wikipedia, you could learn like everything. From the tanks, the planes that were used, the guns, the generals, the tactics, everything. Where a general article is just going to tell you about the battle. That's it. So that Wikipedia is a great source for history. And I'm sure Wikipedia is a great source for other stuff like chemistry and even maybe math and other stuff like that. But I found it very useful for history. And so that's where I get most of my history knowledge from. It's from Wikipedia. And I can tell you, a lot of the stuff on Wikipedia is true. There's only one time I saw one thing that was false on Wikipedia, but it was actually changed pretty quickly afterwards. And it was like a date that a historical figure died. But and I think it was just like a troll, somebody, because it was like a historical figure and the date was put as like a modern date when they died. When they actually died, like 200 years ago. But after that was fixed really quickly. And Wikipedia also lists all the references. So that's a good source. And I learned a lot of history just as a hobby of mine. And I wasn't studying the history to like make money or anything. It was a hobby of mine. Reading history. And I learned so much from Wikipedia. And I gained a pretty good knowledge. So you don't need a degree to be smart. You don't need, college to make, good money. There's other alternatives. Ultimately, it's what you want to do in life. And I wanted to make this video to explain my experiences. And I hope the video wasn't too long. I hope I haven't talked too much. But I wanted to talk about what made me happy, what I did in my life, the ups and downs I had, I showed my mom that you don't need college necessarily to be successful. So I hope that my advice has helped people out. If people have any other questions, let me know down below. But that's ultimately is don't let people dictate to you what you want to do with your life. If you want to go to college, great. I support your decision 100%. If you don't want to go to college, I also support your decision ultimately. It's what you want to do. The people who say that you need college or you're going to be a failure are stupid. And the people who say that college is a scam, it's also stupid. It depends. Parts of college can be a scam, and but not the entire thing. And you don't need college to be successful in life. You don't need that too. So I hope that this video has helped you out, guys. Hope it helps you decide what you want to do with your lives. Let me know what you think, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Take care, everyone. Have a wonderful day, guys.